The best way to make your game more impactful is to add a ragdoll. And in this video, I'm going to teach you exactly how to make it. There are no videos on YouTube that actually teach you how to make a ragdoll and explain how it works. Okay, so first go to replicated storage and click on the little arrow. This unfolds replicated storage and shows you what's inside it. Now, if you hover over, you'll see a plus button and click on folder. Name this folder modules. And inside this folder, add a module script. Let's call the module script Ragdoll module. Now, if you don't have the Explorer in properties, go to View and enable it from here. Also enable the output and script analysis so it's easier to debug your code. Now go here and replace module with Ragdoll module. And let's copy and paste the code here. Now let's do function Ragdoll module. Make sure it's spelled and capitalized exactly what's written here. Add a colon. And let's call this function Ragdoll. Now add two parentheses and add character and enable. Now do if not character or not character is a model, then print character is invalid. Return. Our parameters for this function is character and enable. So we're getting a specific character, maybe the enemy character, the player's character, and we're getting enable. Basically, if the ragdoll is on or off. Over here, you're saying if we have not been given the character, or the character is not a model, like example, if it's a plane, then it won't work. Then it probably won't work. So we're going to print character is invalid and return. Now do local humanoid is equal to character find first child of class. And inside here, we're going to put humanoid. If you're wondering what is a humanoid, so inside every character that joins the game, there's something called a humanoid. It's like a controller of the player. With the humanoid, you can do stuff like damage and so on. And also inside the character, there's something called the humanoid root part. It's basically the main point of the player. With the humanoid root part, you can do stuff like add velocity and so on. So let's get the humanoid root part as well. So do local HRP is equal to character find first child humanoid root part. So now it's time to head on to our actual ragdoll part. To understand the ragdoll, you need to understand motor 60. So if you're wondering what is motor 60, motor 60 allows you to move two or more parts that are relative to each other. This is usually used for rigged animations. So for a ragdoll, we're gonna need our motor 60. Now let's add the code to actually check whether our ragdoll is enabled or not. So do if enable, then, so if you're enabled, then continue. Now do for descendant in pairs character get descendants do. Now we're creating something called a for loop. A for loop basically iterates through everything inside the code block given. If you're wondering what is this underscore, it basically resembles nothing. And this is the second value. We're just calling this descendants. This is whatever we find. This is whatever we find. And we're basically getting all the descendants of the character, which means we're finding everything inside the character. This is used to find all the Motor 60 parts. And when we find all the Motor 60 parts, we're going to disable them. So let's write the code for that. Now let's do if descendant is a Motor 60, then if we look inside the descendants of the character and we find a Motor 60, then continue. Now do local ball socket is equal to instance dot new ball socket constraint. If you're wondering what is a ball socket constraint, it basically connects two joints and allows them to rotate and move in any direction. Just like the sockets of your shoulder, for example, we can move our hand in any direction. So in this line of code, we're creating a ball socket constraint and we're calling it ball socket. Now let's do ball socket dot name is equal to, let's call it Ragdoll socket. So we're basically calling this socket a Ragdoll socket. And ball socket dot parent is equal to descendant dot parent. Basically, if you're wondering what parent means, in Lua U there's two things called child and parent. Child basically means what's underneath an object, and that object will be called parent. So we're basically in this line we're saying we're putting the ball socket inside of the descendant's parent. Now do local attachment is equal to instance dot new attachment. Now if you're wondering what's an attachment, so basically an attachment is basically like an object that you can use to add cool effects to the player or to anything in general. It's mainly used in adding velocity and VFX. So now do attachment dot name is equal to ragdoll attachment 0. Now do attachment dot cframe is equal to descendant dot c0. So cframe basically stands for coordinate frame. It means where and what rotation is a certain object. So we're setting our attachment's cframe to our descendants. Now do attachment dot parent is equal to descendant dot part 0. Now basically let's copy and paste this code, put it underneath, and let's just rename this. So I'll just call this attachment 1. I will attachment 1 1 1 1. And instead of 0, here replace it with 1, and here replace it with 1. Now do ball socket, the attachment 0 is equal to attachment, and ball socket dot attachment 1 is equal to attachment 1. So basically what we're doing here is we're creating a connection between two joints. Now do if descendant dot parent, then so if whatever our descendant is under exists, then descendant dot parent set attribute original motor and descendant dot name. So what is an attribute? An attribute is like a tag that you can set on objects and players. With the tag, you can add certain conditions and so on. So here we're saying we're creating an attribute and we're calling it original motor. And we're also going to be giving it our descendant name. So now let's do descendant destroy. Now this is going to be destroying our descendant object. This is what makes our ragdoll actually work. So now let's do if character.humanoid root part, then local velocity is equal to instance.new body velocity. Sometimes when you do a ragdoll, you might get weird behavior, like the character just flies up. So this is to prevent that. To prevent it, we're going to be creating something called velocity. It's usually to create force within the player. Now do velocity dot velocity is equal to vector3 dot new. Let's just do 0 minus 50 and 0. This is the actual keeping it down part. Now velocity dot max force is equal to vector3 dot new 0 map dot huge and 0. Now velocity dot parent is equal to humanoid part. Now we're creating something called body gyro. This is to stabilize our ragdoll even further, so we don't get extremely weird movements. To do that, do local body gyro is equal to instance dot new body gyro. Now do body gyro dot c-frame is equal to humanoid root part dot c-frame. Now body gyro dot max torque is equal to vector3 dot new 4000 4000 4000 4000. Now body gyro dot parent is equal to humanoid root part task dot weight and 2. Wondering what task dot weight means? It basically means we're giving the code a break. Like we're saying, don't do anything for a while until time is up. So the time we're waiting for is 2. Now we're just going to be removing the body gyro and velocity, so it's not there even when the player is done. So velocity destroy, and now do if body gyro and body gyro dot parent, then body gyro destroy. Here we're just making sure our body gyro and our humanoid root part exist. Otherwise, we're going to get really weird behavior. And then we're going to destroy the body gyro. Now do HRP dot assembly linear velocity is equal to vector3 dot 0 and humanoid root part dot assembly angular velocity is equal to vector3 dot 0. Now let's create another for loop, and this for loop is basically going to unanchor anchored parts. So if any parts are anchored, we're just gonna unanchor them. So to do that, do for underscore part in pairs character get descendants do if part is a base part, then part dot anchored is equal to false. So now do humanoid change state enum dot humanoid state type dot physics. So basically this is going to disable other behaviors like swimming, climbing, and so on. This is going to make sure our character moves purely off physics. And now basically our ragdoll is done, but we ragdoll forever. So let's make it so we return back to normal after a certain time. So to do that, do task dot delay 2 comma function. This is something that Roblox specially made to delay certain behaviors. So yeah, do self ragdoll and character comma false. So this turns off our ragdoll. Now we're going to make it so we actually go back to normal. So here we did an if statement called if enabled then. Here we're going to do else, which means if we're not enabled, then do this instead. For descendant in pairs, character get descendants do if descendant what's that a comma is a ball socket constraint local original motor name is equal to descendant dot parent get attribute original motor. So basically what we're saying here, if our descendant is a ball socket constraint, then create a variable, and this variable is going to store the value of our attribute that we created here. So make sure this is spelled and capitalized exactly as what you put here. Just to be safe, you can just copy paste it, otherwise it won't work. If original motor name, then if our attribute exists, then local motor 60 is equal to instance.new motor 60. So we're creating a new motor 60 object. So motor 60 dot name is equal to original motor name. So we're setting the name of our motor 60 to our attribute. Motor 60 dot part 0 is equal to descendant dot attachment 0 dot parent motor 60 dot part 1 equal to descendant dot attachment 1 dot parent, and motor 60 dot c0 is equal to descendant dot attachment 0 dot c-frame and motor 60 dot c1 equal to descendant dot attachment 1 dot c-frame. Now motor 60 dot parent is equal to descendant dot parent. Now we're destroying our descendant. Now hrp dot assembly linear velocity is equal to vector3 dot 0 and humanoid root part dot assembly angular velocity is equal to vector3 dot 0. This is to again prevent weird behavior. So, oh, and I just realized I'm supposed to put this out of the for loop. Just put this here. Now let's make it so our state is not physics anymore. So do humanoid change state enum dot humanoid state type dot getting up. And now this should be the end of our module. Now to test and use the ragdoll, let's make it so if we touch a part, we get ragdolled, and if we go off it, we're unragdolled. So to do that, go to home, click on part, and create a block. Inside this part, let's just call it. Let's just keep this as it is. Hover over and add a script. You can name the script if you want. This is just ragdoll thingy. Okay, so local module is equal to require game.replicated storage dot modules dot ragdoll module. So this is how we get module scripts. Now do local players is equal to game get service players. So basically we're getting our players. Now do script dot parent. So we're getting our part and we're seeing if we touched it. So do dot touch connect function. If it's touch, then connect it to a function. And we'll put hit as a parameter here. So hit is basically whatever touched our part. Now do local character is equal to hit find first ancestor, which is a model. Now do local humanoid is equal to character and character find first child of class humanoid. Now we're doing if our humanoid exists, then local is ragdolled. So we're creating a variable called local is ragdolled. And we're basically checking the state. Get state. And if the state is enum.humanoid state type.ragdoll, I'll do module.ragdoll character not is ragdolled. If our humanoid root part exists, then we're creating a variable that gets whether if we're ragdolled or not. And we're basically applying the ragdoll and giving information like our character that we want to ragdoll and and whether we're ragdolled or not. Oh no. Oh wait. Physics. Sorry, don't put ragdoll there, put physics. So now let's test. To do that, press on the blue play button on the very top of your screen, or you can just press F5. And now if we go near the part, nothing happens. Interesting. And attempt to index boolean with isa. So the ragdoll was not working because it was not able to find the character model. So if you're getting the same error as me, that's probably because your ragdoll is not able to find the character model. So do local character is equal to hit find first ancestor, which is a model, is equal to character and character find first child of class humanoid, and it should work. Okay, and now it should work. So that's it for today. See you in the next video. If you face any issues or errors, just comment down below or contact me in Discord. See ya, bye.